Welcome everybody to episode 3 or week 3 of the GTA Online top 3 stunts and racetracks, so that you guys can see the best curated maps of the last week in GTA Online. So, if you guys would like to support the series or do enjoy any of these racetracks, be sure to go and hit that like button down below, as it massively does help me out, and subscribe to not miss any of these other episodes in the coming weeks. So, let's hop into map number 3. So in third place today, we actually have Spa-Francorchamps. Now this one is actually made by Street Machine 66. Now for those of you that don't know, this is an actual racetrack in real life, and there are many recreations of it, but this is one of the highest voted ones and one of the highest rated ones that I saw on the social club, so I decided to try it out, and I was not disappointed. It's a very, very fun map. Again, I played this one in the session with some of the 6-star guys, and I ended up winning. I was very happy. But this is a really fun map. It's actually made with all of like the new stunt props, just like the flat track kind of bits, but it's actually kind of employed the real life elevation in it as well, which really impressed me. A lot of these people recreate the maps, but don't really take into account quite the elevation changes and the height differences. They just make it completely flat for the sake of an even racetrack. But no, I was very impressed by this. Street Machine 66 did a really good job with this. It's a very fun track, super smooth. It's even got kind of like the distance markers and some bits down the left side around the corners, so you can see quite how like close the corner is where you should be. Overall, it's just a super fun track, super smooth. There's even a pit lane actually when you reach the start-stop line, which a couple of the guys actually ended up driving straight into, because it's not quite, it's not really very well labelled that it's actually a pit lane. I don't really know how I would do it though, but we just at first they kind of just assumed that you could just take a wide corner and you wouldn't have to lose quite so much speed going back through the finish line. But no, as it turns out, it is actually a pit lane. So there's a bunch of repair kits in there, but there's also a bunch of slow down pads, brake pads. So when you go in there, it massively slows you down and just completely ruins any chances that you may have had of catching up or winning the race, because people just massively overtake you in that about 20 seconds that it takes to just get out of this lane. So any of you guys doing more competitive racing, this is definitely a feature you want to make use of. A lot of these new GP tracks I've been seeing have actually had the rural pit lanes. But in this case, we didn't really worry. We only had it on 2 or 3 laps, so I didn't bother with the pit lanes. But just don't be fooled. Make sure to take the first left as you come around the corner here, and not the wide angle with the pink checkpoints, because those will in fact just slow you down and ruin any chances of winning the race. Anyway, that is Street Machine 66 map, Spa-Francorchamps. Very impressive. Now in second place this week, we actually have the first installment of actually the 2 that I featured last week. Now last week I actually featured in one of the positions New Stunt Park 2. This week we have New Stunt Park 1. Now this is actually made by a man who goes by the name XXNegozKXX, whatever. Anyway, so this is Stunt Park, and this is a super fun map actually, so I guess it's the first of the 2 that he made, but I really enjoy this. Now it kind of goes around the Vinewood Hills area, kind of around Franklin's house, around the Vinewood Hills, the little kind of water reserve at the top, and it's actually really fun. Now a lot of people that try to use these, try to create these wall rides here, the kind of transition onto it often isn't really too smooth. There's a lot of problems with it, as it is with this track. I had near on no problems. It's a very wide open track. It's not a crazy, like, kind of difficult one, but you just keep a lot of speed through it. It's very smooth overall, which is, I know I've mentioned it in the last couple of videos as well, but just having a smooth stunt track is actually something that's very impressive, because so few people actually seem to manage to do it. Even though we have the smooth stunt props, now we have the easy snapping, people just don't seem to bother with it, and I just don't understand how people can just make so kind of clunky maps. So when I see maps like this that are very smooth, nice transitions between the different track pieces, good jumps, perfectly working loop-de-loops and everything, all of the tubes actually lining up perfectly, I'm very impressed, because I can't believe that so many people don't even bother with it. So it's definitely a very good track. I really enjoy playing this. It has a nice mix of kind of smooth actual racing ground, with some easy downhill bits, with some quick booster pads, has some of the hamster tubes as well, and overall it has a few loop-de-loops around it. It's overall a super fun track. I really enjoy playing this. It has a bunch of different kind of changes in elevation at the top of any of the kind of massive slope ups or even slope downs, so you don't go flying off the track. You do have some brake pads here and there to keep you nice and smoothly pinned on the track. Has the speed booster pads in the bits where it needs it, going up to some certain ones of the kind of hamster tubes. There's actually a bit where you reach the top of a tube and you actually have to turn around and just do a complete 180. That kind of confused me the first time, but even then at the very top of it is kind of considered that you do in fact still need to brake, and there's just some really nice transitions between different track pieces, and overall a really good map by NegozK. And now in first place for our top map of the week, we actually have something that was very different. It's not like any of the other 8 maps that I've now featured on this series. It's actually called Truck Simulator by Troll Spotted. Now, this was a super fun truck. I love racing it. But it's a bit odd. Now, the way that it actually works is that you're actually all racing in MTL Dunes, which is actually the new massive truck based off the Brigade that was added in with the Cunning Stunts update. Now, in this track, actually, some people didn't quite get the memo that you're supposed to use the MTL Dunes, so they went on Sanchez's, and they didn't end up winning because this track is optimized for the dunes. Some of it you can't actually do on a bike, so there's no use in trying to cheat, because you're not gonna make it. So this was a super fun track. It's about like 7 miles long. It's quite a long thing, and as I was looking at it, I was kind of dreading actually racing this whole thing in such a massive truck that did roll over quite easily. But as it is, there's a couple of bits that are kind of a bit annoying. There's a couple of jumps that don't really work. You're going way too fast in the dune, and you just fly off the track, as you may have seen in the gameplay. But there's, even in this, it's a super creative track. There's quite a bit of a mix between the tube pieces, some more flat areas. You drive through the water a couple of times. I think you even have a couple of massive like loops to do. But it's a super fun track. Now, I'm afraid it is actually modded. This won't affect your console or anything. You don't have to have a modded account to play it, nothing like that. But you can drive on water at some bits when you shouldn't really be able to. I guess there's a prop underwater, but you can't actually see it. But it's a super good track. This was actually one of my favorite ones that we actually played this night that we raced all of these. And I had a really good time playing it because it's just, I haven't seen any other MTL Dune track. So playing this was really quite unique. He's kind of taken you off-road, he takes you up in the air, he puts you on these on the actual track pieces here, and it's interesting that the track will only actually work in the dune. As you can see in the gameplay, the Sanchez's just struggle at a couple of bits. Sometimes they couldn't get through the water, they couldn't do some wall rides here and there. But I just really like kind of the mix of the hybrid aspect of it, where you're up on tracks, you're doing kind of these actual waves up and down. You have kind of the peaks and valleys. There's some massive jumps over the water. Overall, it's just a super creative track. It's quite long, and you may actually have to try a few bits a couple of times because there are just some bits that aren't quite perfect. But trying to race in such massive trucks that do roll over so easily, I feel like it's quite a difficult thing to make tracks that are optimized for this. And actually at the end, near the finish line, you have a massive kind of huge long straight with a bunch of coloured bowling balls all around it and some bowling pins, and up in the sky above it there's a dozen like UFOs. It's a crazy ending, and you just have to do this massive jump and kind of a leap of faith into the water and hope that you actually you don't drown and you hit the checkpoint between the bridge to actually finish the race. So do I recommend you download this track? For sure. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely just a fun one to play with your friends just because it's so stupid, it's so ridiculous. So I definitely recommend you guys go check this one out. There'll be a link to all 3 of these tracks in the description down below, so you can go and play with them there, try them out for yourselves, and they're just fun ones to play with your friends, namely Truck Simulator by Troll Spotted. So if you guys did end up enjoying the video, then be sure to go and hit that like button down below. It massively does help me out, more than you guys can ever know. Subscribe to see all of these videos. I make these weekly now. It's the top 3 series is a weekly thing every Saturday at the same time. You guys can see the 3 US maps of the week. Be sure to comment down below if you've got any extra map suggestions, and be sure to share this with your friends. If you guys would like to share any of these maps, either play them with your friends, or maybe if you just like to show them some of the gameplay, link this video to your friends. I'd love to see these get a bit more attention. I know that, for example, Spa-Francorchamps actually only has like 400 plays or something. It should definitely have more. They're super fun maps, so I just want to see these maps do well. That's pretty much all I have for this week, guys. Thank you guys all very much for watching. My name has been Flair, signing out.